Okay.
Sandroma, very nice to see you once again. Thank you for yesterday. Wonderful day, learning to know your school and of course meeting all of you. Today I will be not showing that much anymore. And I would like to start from your output from yesterday and have a short course of the things you produced yesterday. So if we start with the small ones, can you share, you can do it in Catalan or Spanish or English as you wish.
Sorry, Sampo, but can I, because it's David here who has come, he's from the resources.
Okay. The community, or the
Network. Yes, because either the teachers know him, so they say, what is he doing here, no? Vale, el David, és que t'has aixecat just, que estava presentant el David, perquè ni tan sols la gent de l'escola el coneix, no? Que és el referent digital del centre de recursos. I ha vingut a veure...
Millor dia, un que falla tot.
Oh, sí, podeu tirar-li pedres si voleu. Vale? So, I was introducing him also to the teachers, because they don't know him.
Yeah, and we don't know yet, but nice meeting you, David.
Okay. Yes. He's the one who is charged of of digital things in the zone.
Yeah, very nice. And luckily the internet is working.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He said
When he
it.
comes, I have the same role in school. When someone has a problem, I'll just come. I just press that. Well, now it starts working. But anyhow, so you discussed about the kind of bigger things you have in your school, which of course are the background for the pedagogies and the learning, and then when we think about the environment and how that should make it possible for that kind of learning. So if we start with
are going to introduce me? Rise from here or
let's see, I'll be quiet.
Okay, our strengths, the first one is work of emotional. Then the inclusion. Inclusion has different legs to accept all the students. Diversity, normalization. I don't know if and opportunities, different rhymes of work, different ways of growth of the students. And then the games, work, learn from the games. Games collaboratives, different levels. We mix 3, 4, and 5 graders all together, and the games. Resolution of conflict, solve conflicts, to listen to each other, respect, put in the shoes of others, empathy, and then our way of work. It's our methodology. It's globalization. And different languages, verbal, musical, mathematics, plastic, art, corporal, with the body. Corners, we mix also in the symbolic games. Work also in corners, language, maths,
painting.
Graph.
Painting no.
Graphology. Art, experimentation. Yeah. And then we work with projects. The name of the class, every year we decided one name and then investigate about this name. This year is related with the sea. Artistic projects. Fairy tales that travel to the families every week. The reporter. Yes.
Journalists.
Journalists also travel every week to the families and come back on Monday. And the protagonista,
Main character. Main character.
the main character, every week we have one who talk about when they were young and la protagonista de la semana, different games from their home and talk to the rest. They arrive on Monday and then talk all week are the main. And that's all.
Very good.
Very good, Debbie. And then going forward to grades 1 to 3.
Okay, sí. Ay, Mariana. Deixeu-me passar, sisplau. No?
Well, basically, I think we're all more or less going to explain the same.
Yeah.
Because
We can
they,
meet quick.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We've decided to bring up the four corners of our education system with the innovation, inclusion, plurilingualism, and emotional education. And within each one, we've outlined, for example, the methodology approach, that we use notebooks, we work for projects, the inclusion, cooperation, universal learning approach, and shared teaching, which help us to learn a lot from each other. For plurilingualism, we take part in lots of international projects, especially European projects. And as emotional education goes by, we do meditation, we have an emotional room, and we tend to get the kids to express themselves and sort out their problems and their everyday life, basically.
Yeah.
So it's more or less the same.
All right. Very good. Rini, out of grades 4 and 6.
Yeah.
4 to 6.
Okay. Then we start with the autonomy of the children, in the way that they can solve problems among themselves. The critical thinking as well is important, inclusion and the mediation thing. All the knowledge about technology, interculturalidad means, well,
Global
plurilingualism,
citizenships,
you know. And this is related with the European knowing of the values, European values maybe. Then we have innovation, and one thing that is very important is the staff implication in all the projects, as well the special needs, no? Atenció a les necessitats d'aprenentatge, yes. What we provide them according to their needs.
Yeah.
Okay, and of course this is related with we use different resources and tools to give them these opportunities into the learning process, more or less. This is all.
Amazing. Muy bien. Perfect. Thank you, team. So now we have the background of, what are the things we want to see happening in the school. Yesterday, when we visited classes, we saw this kind of team teaching. This morning, was two in this one class, and of course those are opportunities that help. And yesterday was with the smaller kids, you know, the kind of reading that you're able to have a colleague doing some tests, and those are really nice that they are able to be done. And your school is like kind of a similar as yesterday we talked about the zone, or not zone kind of ideology, but the cell ideology. And now today we will look into.
I need to put my.
Oh,
Yes. So I'll just show one kind of a similar process we did in one of my schools about their values, about their kind of work that they did, and you know, those are the things that we should be able to see when we walk into their cell. Those are the kind of things, you know, what you emphasized here are the things that when us visitors come visit your part of the school, you know, those are something we all can agree upon, and they are visible to at least people who are in the field of education. So in this cell it was about 100 kids altogether, a team of students, and they wanted like three big topics. So inclusion, communality, that you know they are together, kind of team thinking, and then the, let's say, the levels of interaction. Us Finns are, you know, not, you know, but we are not in the same manner, maybe not as good as you know, interacting with one another. We're more the most difficult situation we can be in is if we're in an elevator with some people we do not know,
Yes.
and the elevator gets stuck. You know, we'd look at the shoes for about 21st minutes, that's okay. But then after 20 minutes, you know, then we might say that, oh, this is a sticky situation we're in. But so they wanted, you know, and it is what we can sense also here is that, that, you know, the children and adults have time not just for, you know, the things from their, from the subject content, but also having interactions that, how are you, what are your plans? So building a culture for that is important. They wanted to do some changes in the area or in their physical space. So it was like an open kind of area. So we did some changes, built a couple of glass walls and changed maybe like their direction of teaching. There is still, when we started with the team, there was always the term teaching, never learning. If I'm talking about teaching, then the teacher is in the spotlight. But if I'm talking about learning, then it's someone else. And it's a hard transition to make, that, you know, those are the ones we have to get working. It's not good that the teacher after a lesson is out of energy and the children are not. So we have to put the learners in the center. So you know, listening to that kind of talk and then, you know, trying to make a change with your colleagues, it's not the nicest situations. It's a little bit like in the elevator. But anyhow, you know, talking about the ways of yesterday, you know, we had like, how do we learn? What is our ideology of the learning? Then, you know, those are things that we can build upon and make a change. But this was like the, and they also had a lot of concerns, so we listed those, and they were such easy things that, you know, when they go outside, where do they leave their jackets? Because the teacher's room was like upstairs, and then the schoolyard was close to their class. That could we find a place for that? Of course, lack of not of course, but these are the things that they were missing. Lack of calming down places. You have the areas of sensation. Teacher's workspace. Do I have like a personal space where I can do my stuff? Because they are not like teaching all the time. And this is the ideology of that space. This is like 1 5th grade, or no, these are 3rd and 4th grades. So let's say this is like the space for 2 classes of 4th graders. This is the space for 2 classes of 3rd graders. And I talked to in the morning about the system. We do not have let's say in average Finnish schools, we do not have groups for children with special needs. But in this school, we have about 40% of children with learning difficulties or a background from somewhere else besides Finland. So in this space, we have 2 like small places for children with special needs, and they're about a group of 10. So this is like so they have their own spaces, and then we have a common space, which is for all of these users. And one change that we wanted to see, and of course we had the COVID times where the mixing of groups was not allowed. So the culture that they have been working on for almost like 2 years is more that my class and not mixing things. And now you want to make the change, then it's small steps and a slow transition. It cannot be done like this. And of course the way we are used to working, they all have an impact. But then we try to find the answers and building like kind of, these are sadly in Finnish, but I'll try to explain. So we added just 2 glass walls. We did not want to like change the openness of the area, and then we changed the directions of like there is still this kind of frontal teaching, what we've had for hundreds of years. Just the device has changed in front. Used to be a map, used to be a projector, and now we have, and still I'm delivering the stuff from the front. But they have like at least some of that still. So now the direction of the frontal teaching would be from here, and then it would block at least part of the noise going into that. Because us teachers are quite loud in these open spaces. It's not every time that the children are the loudest. We love our own voice. We have many things to say. I noticed that when I was working in an open space with 3 colleagues. So it's finding a compromise on many things. So we decided, okay, these are places for quiet work. They are like soundproofed kind of glass, let's say cubicles for up to people about 4. They have their own like, you just have to plug it in. It doesn't need ventilation for, the central kind of, it has a ventilation system of its own. They cost about, I guess it was like 14,000. But it's a nice, of course it's like being a fish in an aquarium a little bit. But it's a nice addition when you need a quiet space. So that kind of things are possible. Then we took this place for also like a small group. The teachers had like their kind of spaces or personal stuff in that room, but we took them away from them, but we gave them some earphones, noise cancelling earphones, and they were happy with that. And they have like their own small teacher's place in the corners of their, let's say, classrooms. So within the day, you know, you're able to, at least for some point, have some peace, because there might be lessons going on here even though you're not teaching, so you're able to do some planning or whatever. And these are like spaces for group work. Of course, with you know, the form, you can arrange the chairs and tables in many ways. And then we wanted the zone kind of ideology being brought into this picture. So these are the zones we talked about yesterday, and the similar you have in the FCLs of Spain. So this is investigate, this is like the concentration zone for deepening, so like kind of personal studying and reading and that kind of things. Influence is the orange one, that one, places for that, you might say is express, and then creation. So we try to bring, you know, not in such a sense that you always have to change everything, but in some settings of the space, you might have like that this is, as it is, suitable for this kind of operations in the school or in their cell. So and now that the next steps going forward with that group is how do we use those zones? How do we plan the use of the common space? Do we have time for planning together? Because a change is not just what happens in the classrooms, it has to be done on all levels. It has to be done with their time schedules, so the headmaster has to make it possible for them to cooperate. They have to plan their time schedules in a manner that they have. Sadly, in Finland, we do not have the, like you have within, such as, you know, now we have this and you have this every day. So that makes collaboration, cooperation with one another much easier because, you know, you're all here. If it was in the afternoons, you know, we might have a life besides being a teacher. I have heard that some teachers have an actual life.
Only some.
Only some.
Yes.
But well, anyhow. So those are things that, you know, the change has to be, the transition has to be done on all levels, and you know, the pedagogical leadership of the schools is something that we are not seeing enough of. The principals are really busy with everything that they have to do, that you know, because they're mostly in charge of many things in the schools. That have I shared my ideology of my school enough in a way that the teachers are able to, you know, work in that kind of a manner and help them if they have some difficulties and make it possible for that. So leadership is also really important, and those are, you know, things we try to help with. And then, of course, you know, making the conceptions for what kind of things we want to do and the common rules and that. But so those are things that we work on, and these are just answers to the concerns of the teacher. So the jacket issue, there's like a place for storing stuff. We could put like a coat hanger in there so they were able to go and so on. And luckily this transition was like a good one, that I'm able to visit them even after being involved with their work. And then I had like a group of guests somewhere, and then because we did this in spring, and I think it was like September, I visited them again. That how has it been? And one colleague said, now it's perfect. But it should never be perfect. But okay, maybe he was, I think I paid him a little bit. But that's enough of talk. Now, turning to you, I have a short hands-on activity. Describe in your own words, it can be the language you choose. A pleasant learning environment. What are the elements that, in your opinion, if we think about the students of, you can think about the kids of your school or nursery, that what are the elements they want to see? Put yourself in the shoes of a 4-year-old. What would be something you would want to be in that learning environment? And then you can click on to the next slide and think of 3 like most important things in a physical environment. So you can go to the Menti in just a minute. Is Mentimeter familiar to you? Yeah. Swedish company. Pretty nice. Yeah. Like Spotify and many good things come from Sweden. Sad to say that as a Finn. But now, after answering the Menti, you wrote in the first hands-on session a lot about the methodology also of your, like, let's say, the group you work in. So now I want you can either do it in a big group or split, and maybe have like 2 different perspectives on the topic, to draw kind of your, sadly I haven't had time to draw the outlines of your learning space, but you know that better, and think of elements you would like to be added to that. Think of how could you change, if there are, I'll get this back to this slide later on, and how, so what kind of elements we want to see if we were able to make the changes. We talked yesterday about that, okay, we wanted this wall to be banked down and have more of an open concept here, but sadly it wasn't possible. So it is, when we are planning the change, it's also important that the teachers know what kind of possibilities there are. So they have to be realistic, that we cannot build something outside, like second floor from here and gardens and such, because then probably the city will not be very happy about that. It costs 600,000 euros. A little bit realistic.
Or we can imagine that we won the lottery.
Maybe like a compromise of those 2.
Okay.
Because then if we just build on something that's not reasonable, then it's good to think out of the box and think like big. But now if we want to see some kind of transitions, then it's good that we know the things, and we, for example, if we tore down this wall, we can see that, okay, there's electric currents. That's pretty expensive. The ventilation system, the air conditioning. We don't have to take that into account, but in many spaces, if I change the walls, then I have to, see that there's enough of ventilation, at least, and so on. And if we think about now we can more focus on let's say the physical space, but also bearing in mind, as the 4th to 6th graders mentioned, that it's also about technology and what we can provide to the learning with the, so it's not just here, but we can use the technology to bring other dimensions as well to the learning and the learning space. The first, like physical environment change I was involved in was when I was still working with the kids, and we had like a pedagogical cloud with a team of we were 4 teachers at that time. and then we had like a cloud of topics that we wanted, what kind of actions we wanted to see in that space. And we were in a lucky situation that we were able to talk to the architects and as well as the planning part of that group and have a real impact on the space. Sometimes it was not fun for a teacher to be responsible for what kind of wires are going inside, you know, making decisions. I remember going to the beach with my family and I was on the phone for like 50 minutes at the beach and just, you know, explaining about what kind of electric kind of, should we have the BJ45s or whatever. And then you wind up in many like, of course you learn in those situations. But anyhow, now you already thought about the methodology and thinking of what kind of actions, because you are the best experts in what kind of actions you have in your classrooms, in your corridors, in your school. And how can the physical environment be best for those actions? If a pair or a few want to have a look or give an idea of the teacher's lounge, feel free to do that.
Dream is free.
Dreaming is free.
Dreaming is free.
And some themes that you know you want to see in those spaces. So we had a lot of this kind of agency and that things, but we'll go into those later on. But now, first going back to this, and then we have until 12. It was 2:45, or when do we have lunch? 1:30. All right. So we only have 10 minutes, but we'll continue tomorrow. Decide on how you want to work in the group. Is it in like people of 3, or maybe split in 2? Because you know, if we're 8, it's not worthwhile. And come up with great ideas for developing your physical learning space. Simple task. And we'll continue tomorrow. And you can use other spaces besides, you can go to the actual space. So if we just continue with the... And before you leave, take the message.